Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's live coverage of the, I've got the wrong overlay there, it's actually the Wankel Australia-New Zealand Championship coming to you live from Suzuka for round 3, and the commentary team tonight is myself, Bernie Weemers, and Luke Emerton. Welcome, Luke.
Yes, good evening, Bernie. How are you this evening?
Yeah, good. I just didn't change the overlay, so it actually says Skip Barber Monday Lights, but people will figure it out.
Yeah, almost close enough. They're just their bigger brother.
Yeah, exactly right. And we've got a couple of guys streaming tonight for anyone that's interested in watching the live streams. And I'll just bring them up here now. So we've got Sam Catakazinos from Sam Catakazinos Racing. And you can see him at Twitch TV, Sam Catakazinos Racing. And we've also got Alex McKellar. So you probably heard Alex on the Monday nights calling the Monday Night Lights. And he's also streaming. That's twitch.tv/TopSplitTV. So bring it up on the side of the broadcast so you can see what those guys are up to. At the same time, we can see at the moment Alex is going out trying to make his qualifying here, Luke.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of the viewers that know Suzuka, a very famous track with F1, been around for a lot of years. Good circuit, 5.4k in length, about 3.3 miles, and some excellent corners, especially an open wheel, Bernie. It's be able to take them flat out. Most famous, they're probably the 130R, and also some good racing up through the S-curves. It's going to be a bit tricky tonight on cold tyres. A lot of guys in practice here getting a bit loose and off in the dirt, so should be some very, very interesting racing through there. But Suzuka always throws up a lot of overtaking moves and has some good corners all round. Pretty much, it's a good all-round track, and the only figure 8 track in the world, I think, that runs F1.
Yeah, and it's also something that was a breakthrough for iRacing, wasn't it? Because up until they did Suzuka, they actually couldn't have any track that actually had a bridge over top of existing track. So they had to redo some of their code to make that possible, and that was a breakthrough when they built this circuit.
And from that we got classic track like Oran Park as well, which we're very thankful for, which is the other figure 8 track on the service, which isn't a demolition derby track.
Yeah, and you can see at the moment the guys are out qualifying. They've got 5 laps, but before we get into that, a couple of things about tonight, folks. Basically, as always, they've got one fast repair incident limit set at 20. It's a fixed setup series, and basically they're going to run tonight for 20 laps, but they have to do a pit stop. That's mandatory. Don't have to change tyres, but they do have to take fuel, Luke.
That's right, Bernie. We've seen the last couple of weeks that's thrown in some really interesting strategies among the drivers, which is good to see. I do like the odd pit stop, even on the shorter races. Makes the race, even for the drivers as well, a lot more interesting, as well as for the spectators. Just adds that extra layer of strategy, and creates some really interesting racing as well when you see groups coming at once and people trying to get undercuts. Even if they don't change tyres, sometimes getting out in that fresh air and away from a battle can gain you a lot of time.
Yeah, it certainly can, and one person that wants to gain some time at the moment is Scott Newton on the screen at the moment, folks. He is qualified 13th at the moment, and he's on to his second flying lap. And his target here, Luke, is a 1:54.681. His last time was a 1:55.336. So he's got probably about 6/10 to find to knock Gary Hamilton off the Percher provisional pole.
Yeah, and as the viewers will see as well, it's solo qualifying, so there's no draft in effect either. So this is all down to the driver's skill, being that it's fixed set and no draft. So yeah, 0.6 is actually quite a fair chunk of time to try and make up, but they do get as you said, 5 laps to do it, and as their tyres warm up and come under pressure, we should see these times drop a little bit. But Gary Hamilton with the 54 is quite a decent time, first car off the rank.
Yeah, so Scott Newton there did not improve. His time was a 150. It was actually in the 156s, I think, that time by. So quite a bit of an improvement to go. We've got Ewan Norolampi out here. He's sitting in provisional second, but again 159.428. So he has not improved on his second run. Got Craig Edwards now coming through. He's sitting provisionally fourth in Team FSR or Fusion Sim Racing, so we'll see what he can set as he comes across the line now.
Yeah, and a good sized field again tonight, Bernie. Looks like we've got 17 runners, so again, good turnout. It seems to be this series, even though the car hasn't been as popular in the last 12 months or so since the Formula Renault. Looks like it might be making a comeback, and it's good to see that the boys are coming out in numbers, and we keep seeing the same guys back every week having a bit of fun.
Yeah, exactly right, and that's what this series is pretty much about, isn't it? The drivers going out there having fun, which is why they make it a fixed setup. You can pretty much, if you can drive the car, jump in without having to worry about all the setups or anything like that. A couple of other things which is interesting here, Luke, is the way they're doing it. If you take pole position, I think you get 2 points, championship points. Then I think you get another 1 point for the most laps led, and also if a driver leads a lap, they also get a bonus point.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it. It rewards the consistent drivers as well as the quick drivers. So you might not get the quickest in qualifying, but you may set a fast lap during your race, and also if you decide to stay out for a while and change your pit strategy, you might be able to pick up a couple of bonus points for leading a lap.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? And if you can do that enough times and sneak those points in, it can keep you in the championship, I guess. But seeing AJ Bear now currently sitting in ninth in that beautiful zebra livery, I guess you could call it, as he's coming through now, 152.3. It's going to be close. What's he do? No, he doesn't. He's a 156.248. So it looks like none of them are improving. It's that first lap that's basically setting the grid at the moment. No one's improving on the second or third lap.
Yeah, it's interesting just looking at the track temperatures at the moment around Suzuka. So they've got a 31 degree track, but the air temp is partly cloudy with 18 degrees, so there's absolutely no wind at all. So the track's a little bit warm, but yeah, it's a bit interesting to see that the times are not really falling after the tyres get a bit scrubbed up. So yeah,
and it's we can see Trent Thomas out there at the moment, the man behind the series, and he's sitting in 7th with the time 155.356, and we'll see if he can improve as he comes up on the back straight. It's always quite interesting that it's lone qualifying, and someone obviously just had a spin where Trent was going through, so you saw all these puffs of smoke everywhere, which of course Trent would not see that, but we sort of do see that.
Yeah, that's right. Being that we're spectators, we can view any car out on track, but yeah, it's good for the drivers. They can't hear any of the other cars or anything like that. It's just like they're out doing a bit of free practice on their own in their own little private world, so which is good for concentration as well. It helps you out. Sometimes you may get balked in qualifying in say an official series or something like that where they do qualifying together sometimes, so it's good to have it where it's a bit separated.
Yeah, and we're just having a look now. Trent did improve his time, 155.088. He's moved into 4th position.
Yeah, it's a good time there, and we've got the top 3 drivers now into the 54s with Norolampi sneaking in with a 54.908, and actually he's moved up. He's done a 54.57 as I speak now, and Tim DeLiesel has done a 54.908. So Gary Hamilton still leads with a 54.5, and I reckon that's probably good enough to take pole at the moment. With, as we've seen, Bernie, the times not really tumbling a lot after these first laps.
Yeah, that's right. Trent's still out there pushing at the moment. As he's, where is he coming now? I don't think it's going to work for him because where he's situated on the track, he's already up to a minute, so this would not be a flyer for him. I'd say he's probably throwing tyres in on it, and he's coming back out trying to do one final run. They do get, I think it's 5 laps around here to try to set their qualification, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit hard with a fixed setup too, Bernie. Everyone's on a full tank of fuel, or whatever the fuel is actually set at. So normally, if you can have 5 laps or so in a private qualifying like this, you want to probably set a banker lap. Then you want to come in. You don't want to fill it with fuel. You just want to put some fresh rubber, and that way your car's a bit lighter. You got a fresh set of rubber, and go out and try and do that flyer, which is obviously looks like what Trent's about to do now.
Yeah, and interesting times for the 2 live streamers here as well. Sam Katakazinos at the moment qualified 13th. Alex McKellar for Top Split TV also streaming, qualified 14th. So you might have the 2 streamers starting side by side. Now, if they both run into each other, it's all just going to go off.
Yes, that would be very interesting, and for some of us, as myself, lucky enough with 3 monitors, we might have to get all 3 of those up and have a good look at that during the race.
Yeah, it always just adds that element of immersion, doesn't it? That you can, it's a bit like the Le Mans series, the way I see it. You can jump into the broadcast channel, or you can go and have a look at the streamers, which is the equivalent of jumping a live channel onto one of their channels.
Yeah, definitely. I always tend to jump onto the Nismo TV channel. They're always good for on board, and then watch the main broadcast as well. It's always good just so you can keep an eye on where your favourite cars are as well.
Yeah, that's right. You can see now Sam's still out there, sitting in 13th. There's only really 3 cars out there running, and we must be very close to time up, because we've got Tim Delisle. He's still out there in 3rd. He's just coming on an out lap now, so we'll see if he can get a time in. Maybe he's just trying to get used to the setup. Craig Edwards is out there as well, and he is on a flying lap and sitting in 7th.
Yeah, I'm just having a look now, Bernie. They've got about a minute 20 to go, 15-minute max for their 4 laps. So yeah, we've got Sam Katanusis out there as well, in 13th at the moment. He's about halfway, so you may be able to get another lap in here, but it's a fairly long lap, almost 2 minutes. So depending on how much time they give them once that checker flag flies, he may actually struggle here to get one more lap in, if he still has one up the sleeve.
Yeah, that's right. If he's got any more up his sleeve, we can see now Craig Edwards. Where's he coming up to now? I think that's through. Is that Spoon down to 200R, and then no, that's Hairpin. It's 200R now into Spoon.
That's right. As he comes here now into this nice open double left-hander onto the back straight, and they have a good run up to 130R, and it's very important you get a good exit out of here, especially once you're in a battle pack. You want to be able to tuck in behind and see if you can get a move done into the chicane.
Yeah, so he's coming up to 130R now. The time, he's not going to beat his time. He's already up to his 156. His best time was, for Craig Edwards, was a 155, so he's pretty much probably going to bail on this time. And he's the only one out there running. Everyone else is pretty much done, and that's the end of qualifying. So let's get on to the grid here, folks, so you can see where your favourite driver is going to start tonight.
Yeah, so we've got Gary Hamilton will take pole with a 54.56, Bernie. Then in second, Nora Lampe has done a 54.5, 54.9 for Tim. Trent Thomas in fourth, Scott Newton in fifth, Christopher Owen in sixth, Craig Edwards in seventh, Joseph Falcamata in eighth, Alexander Bird in ninth, AJ Bear in 10th, Joshua Burton in 11th, Heath Brennan in 12th, Katakazunas in 13th, Alex McKellar in 14th, Les Peck in 15th, Phil Lotto 16th, Damon Carr in 17th, Tim Owima in 18th, and we've got Jason Warren and Paul Nielsen, which will start without setting a time if they take the grid.
Yes, I'll see if they do take the grid. We're just waiting on a number of drivers now to take that grid, and then we'll jump straight into. Well, we're still waiting for our pole sitter, Gary Hamilton. Now he takes to the grid, and they're slowly trickling in here.
That's right, and they get normally a couple of minutes or a minute and a half to grid up. So we'll see now. Most of the cars are on. There's a couple of empty spaces just towards the rear, but this should be a really, really good start, Bernie.
Yeah, it certainly should be a very good start. And jumping across to the YouTube channels here, we can see Alex is looking very, very relaxed indeed. And what about Sam? Is he going to be the same? And, well, he's got commercials running, so he must be really relaxed. So yeah, it's always good fun. But revs are rising here, folks. We're about to go racing here at Suzuka for round 3, and waiting now for the start under starters orders, and it's go. So here we go, round 3 Suzuka, nice clean start. You can see a few of the guys jumping out the back there, but coming down, Gary Hamilton leads them into the first corner. So having a look as they run now, we've got Gary Hamilton, Ewan Orlampi right behind him, Tim Delisle in 3rd, 4th is Scott Newton, 5th Craig Edwards, 6th is Christopher Oon, keep an eye on him, and then there's a gap back to Alexander Bird.
Yeah, it looks like a good start. Everyone got off the line that time, Bernie. These things are a little bit difficult to get underway sometimes, but a bit of a gap there in the pack, but there's some good battle a bit further back. Falcomata and AJ Bear, as well as Sam Catauzis, all in a big battle pack coming through the Degner 1 and 2 curve.
Yeah, and we're coming up to hairpin now. We can see Craig Edwards, he's defending from Josh Burden. Josh puts it up the inside, there's almost contact, and that's woken up Falcomata as well. But we can see behind him Katakazinos and Bear, they're going at it side by side here. And Heath Brennan's also coming in to join the party.
Yeah, and already we're starting to see those battle packs form up again as Sam sticks the nose in the inside, but he knows he's not far enough up, so he's going to back out of that and tuck into the draft. As these 3 or 4 car packs have pretty much come a trend now amongst all the races at the moment, so it's good to see that they're sticking to it and giving some good racing.
Yeah, well, there's a massive train up the front here, isn't there? There's about 6 cars involved, as now there's nearly contact with Orlampi there as he got into the back of Hamilton. Very slight touch, but Delisle, he is the loser here. He got held out wide. He's slipped now from 3rd down to 6th and possibly 7th.
Yeah, we got one in the pits already. It looks like Trent Thomas, our series organiser, is in the pits with a very, very damaged car, so I didn't see what happened to him, Bernie, but must have been pretty bad. He's pretty much had a tow back to the pits. Looks like that rear wing is completely damaged and he may actually be out for the race.
Yeah, Paul Nelson was also involved in an incident on the first lap. We're going to actually jump back here and see if we can work out what exactly has happened to Trent, and let's have a look. So we can see the start, and Trent was sitting pretty comfortably in about 7th position, so he did get a good start, but obviously he's come together with someone. Oh yeah, he didn't actually come together. The car snapped violently to the left, going through the S's there, a bit like a tank slapper, and straight into the wall.
Yeah, as I mentioned pre-race, Bernie, I did see a few guys have trouble through there on cold tyres in practice. Oh yeah, that was pretty bad. Just seeing the replay now up on our broadcast, and yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I was seeing in practice. But it just seems if the car, the way they're set up as it has been the last few weeks, you can't really save it from a slide. As soon as you try and give it a bit of opposite lock, it pretty much will just go, yeah, okay, I'll go that way, and then throws you off the track. It's very unfortunate for Trent.
Yeah, it certainly was, but at the moment, Gary Hamilton's leading Ewan Orlampi. It was 0.8 of a second, so he's starting to stretch his legs. Scott Newton behind him, Craig Edwards. They've pretty much developed into a train now, all the way back to Christopher Oon. But let's jump deeper into the pack and see if we can find any more battles. There is one at the moment between AJ Bear and Heath Brennan, as Heath now, as they come down the main straight into first turn, I guess they call it, trying to get a draft here.
Yeah, and he's got a good run on him, Bernie, and he's not far enough up, but he stays in there. Very hard to do. Oh, there's a lot of smoke in front. Someone's had a spin there as well, Bernie.
Yeah, I saw them on the infield there, and we'll see if we can get a number of who that was, but that was a pretty gutsy move, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot of people make the mistake of trying to make that move too early in that first kink, Bernie, and you see a lot of cars coming together there. But the problem is you need to be kind of in that spot to be able to make it work on that second half of that right-hander. So, I mean, it was a good move in the end. They gave a lot of racing room, but yeah, very, very dangerous to try that through there.
Yeah, and that spinner was Alexander Bird, the number 18, went around. I've noticed one thing with this setup. It looks a bit twitchy on turning mid-corner, because he had the same thing that happened to Trent. It came in mid-corner, he lost it a bit, it sort of snapped to the opposite side, but then he gathered it up and spun it on the inside of the curve. Yeah,
and unfortunately, they are quite twitchy, these things. I didn't get a chance to drive the setup this week, Bernie, but the last couple of weeks I've had a bit of a go in practice, and yeah, they are. It's just the way that they're just such a highly strung machine, with not a lot of give in the suspension. So yeah, they are very, very hard to cover from a slide. For those of us that are probably more used to running, say like a V8 supercar or even a GT3 almost, they're a bit more recoverable than these open wheel ones.
Sorry about that, I was just having a look at the battle of the streamers at the moment, folks. If both these guys are streaming on Twitch, Sam Catakazinos, he's leading Alex McCalla, Alex on Top Split TV, and Sam Catakazinos racing on Twitch TV. And at the moment, Sam's got his measure.
Yeah, I'm just having a look, sorry Bernie, back up the front. Gary Hamilton, that gap has absolutely shrunk to almost only a car length, so I think Gary must have made a mistake somewhere while we're having a look back through the pack there, and he's under a little bit of pressure now back from Noralampi and Scott Newton. They've kind of concertinaed that top 5 up again.
Yeah, we're looking at Scott Newton. He's putting quite a bit of pressure on the back of Noralampi, and we'll see what he can do as he comes up to the hairpin. And where is he? Up to hairpin, down at 200R. I'm just bringing my track map up so I sound like I know what I'm talking about. Oh, contact.
Oh, it's big contact at the hairpin, and then we've got one on its roof. And I have lost the camera on the roll bar.
Yeah, he knocked the camera completely off the roll bar there. Let's go and have a look at this. We're actually riding with him when that occurred, and he came in really heavily, didn't he, into the hairpin. And we'll just have a look exactly what's happened here. They're actually halfway through the corner, and he's just gone straight through Noralampi. Christopher Oon also involved in that, and yeah, very nasty. How do you read that, Luke?
Yeah, well, I was just listening to a bit of driver chat there, Bernie, and it was just a bit of netcode. We know that Noralampi there is... sorry, I'm just mute driver chat while I'm trying to talk. We know he's from Finland, and we've had him in the comms box a few times, and the drivers are just got to be a bit careful, being that he's the only international driver. You just get that bit of netcode, and that's what it seemed like. I'm not sure if we can get a view from the gearbox to see if there was any real contact, but on board it looked like there was contact, but then obviously when the car kind of teleported through the other one, yeah, but definitely just looking at the replay now, it did look like he did make a bit of contact there, but obviously the netcode doesn't help with then flipping the other car on its roof, etc.
Yeah, exactly. We're having a look at that now, and there was definitely contact, and then of course he gets hit big time as Christopher Oon uses the pointy nose of that car to serve him down the road a little bit.
Yeah, and Gary Hamilton now out to a nice comfortable lead with Tim DeLiesel in second, and Craig Edwards rounding out the podium at the moment.
Yeah, it's a huge gap, isn't it? 2.4 seconds all of a sudden Gary Hamilton's got, and I wonder if that is due to that incident that would have happened behind him in second and third. I say that's what it is, folks, because Tim DeLisle is now second, 2.4 seconds down. Craig Edwards sitting behind him, 0.5 of a second down and trying to close in. And then we've got Christopher Oon. Going to have a look at his car to see if he's carrying absolutely no damage. A little bit of front wing damage, but considering he's just got underneath Ewan Noralampi, I'm surprised that car's even moving forward. So that could have been netcode.
Yeah, for sure, Bernie, and you're not wrong. It doesn't look like that beautiful paint job has had much damage at all, and it looks almost the same as the one in front. Craig Evans has got a bit of damage on the front of his, and I think he was the first car to come through and collect him, and then Christopher was unfortunately the next one after that. So, but good to see that the marvellous new paint job there on Christopher's car not get too many scratches as he is now pitting.
Yes, I'll just remind you folks, it is a mandatory pit stop. He'll be the first of the pitters. The cars that have been in trouble tonight, Scott Newton, we just saw that incident. Damien Carr, also involved in an incident in the Fusion Sim Racing number 07, going very, very slowly indeed. Ewan Norolampi, we saw that incident. Trent Thomas, we caught that. Paul Nelson, a bit of a mystery. I don't think he did start, but he didn't get a lap in. Took it to the pits, and that was the end of his night.
Yeah, good battle here. AJ Bear in the number 8 car, our Zebra car as we call it, and Heath Brennan is under all sorts of pressure in that little damaged FSR number 82, I think it is. Yeah, so that's good battle brewing here as well. Mid pack for 6th and 7th.
Yeah, he got it kicked out a little bit. He's lost a bit of ground on Heath Brennan now. But we'll see if we can gather it up as they come up through the hairpin. Interesting track, Suzuka, and I reckon it would be made for this sort of open wheeler racing. Well, it is pretty much, isn't it? Because of the Formula One, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. It allows for these higher speed cars and obviously higher downforce cars decent passing moves and kind of rewards the draft, but without being too overpowering. As such, they kind of break it up in the right spots with corners, and there's a lot of overtaking opportunities, but there's also some corners where you definitely don't want to stick the nose in, as they're just behind Heath Brennan and AJ Bear here. Falcomata and Katakazunas in a good battle as well, coming through one linear.
Yeah, we're looking back on Sam Katakazinas here, and no doubt people on his stream are looking from his cockpit. He's still winning, as now we can see Falcomata coming into the pits to take his stop. I was going to say he's still winning as far as the streamers go, the battle of the streamers, because Alex McCullough's right behind him again.
Yeah, and Sam now with a bit of open air, but he doesn't have much time to breathe as Alex McKenna is now closing in on him, and I don't mind that green paint job either, Bernie. It's just got that right kind of shading to it, and yeah, we're seeing a couple of new liveries out there tonight, and they look quite good as someone's out on the grass. AJ Bear in the Zebra going to do a bit of feeding out in the grass. He's all sorts out of control.
Yeah, we'll jump back and have a look at that replay, see if we can work out what's happened to him. It'll be interesting to see if this car's snapped like Trent's did. It was in the same spot up there in the S's. And it'll be interesting to see as we're looking at the replay now. Up until that incident, he was up 4 positions, so he was doing well.
Yeah, I think he got lucky. He only lost 2 there, but yeah, I think he just got a bit loose, as you said before. But he was lucky enough to gather it back up before it got too out of control.
Yeah, and we're on to the slow-mo here, just trying to, well, yeah, he actually got a wheel onto the ripple strip there, and that unsettled the car, and he's gone right on the inside of the S's over the ripple strip onto the grass, managed to gather it up without affecting anyone's race, and off he goes.
Yeah, he's very, very lucky there. He could have had all sorts of problems if it had snapped a bit further left, but he managed to avoid everybody, and including the fence and the gravel trap, so it's good to see he's able to continue as Sam Katakazunas now really putting the heat on, and Heath Brennan's in all sorts coming into the final chicane. I think he might get him here turn 1, Bernie, unless they decide to pit together.
Yeah, well, it doesn't look like they're going to go in the pits as we ride with Sam on our gyro cam. And 13 laps remaining here. We'll see what he can do. Is he going to have a look on the inside? He is. Here we go.
He's out of it early there, but he's going to be on the inside. Gets the move done.
That was a nice move, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. That's textbook. And one thing you got to be careful with these open wheel cars, especially in the skippies, is you try not to unload the car mid-corner by backing off. They rely heavily on the mechanical grip, One thing you don't want to be doing is getting to the apex and having to back off there. It can really unsettle the car. But he did a good job there. He backed off a little bit early and then got back on the throttle at the apex and managed to drive the car through. And I've just jinxed him. He's gone wide at the two Degnas and he's into the fence.
I'm going to blame you for that one. Yeah, that car's toast, isn't it?
Yeah, it's no good. He's got a lot of left-hand damage there on the front. Easily bend a wishbone. And that's all sorts of crabbing at the moment.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that slow-mo, and yeah, just the way that he was trying to steer it and just crabbed straight back in the wall again. I think that's his night done. It actually happened, he hit the inside ripple strip in Degna 1, which threw him off the track. Then he's tried to gather it up into Degna 2, but of course once you get out into that dirt, there's nowhere to go. He nearly pulled it off, but he clouded the wall big time, and then of course, looking at the way that car's crabbing, he's turning it and it's just finding the wall. There's nothing left for that car but to hit the wall.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Bernie, having driven this track a fair few times in all different categories, that has to be one of the trickiest little complex corners, as Sam now just loops it on the back straight. If you can make it back to the pits, I think they may get a fast repair, so that may be what he's trying to do. But yeah, it is quite a tricky set of corners. It's two little right-hand kinks, but the way that the camber on the road is and the way that the curves get hit, as we see there, it can really unsettle the car. And once you're in that outside, very, very hard to gather it back up.
Yeah, so as Sam's limping up the back straight there, trying to keep out of everyone's way, up to 130R, we'll get back to our leader and update you folks on the top 10. So Gary Hamilton leads Tim Delisle by 2.8 seconds. Craig Edwards sitting right behind Tim at the moment, 0.3 of a second down. Then there's a big gap back to Josh Burden, 8.1 seconds in 4th. Alex McKellar, he's sitting in 5th. Les Peck, his teammate, in 6th. Tim Awima, 7th. 8th is Christopher Oon. Joseph Alcamada, 9th. And running out your top 10, folks, is AJ Baird.
Yeah, Baird doing a good job there in the top 10 after that little off that we saw before. But Tim now, he's under a little bit of pressure from Craig. That gap's slowly closing in through the later half of the lap. But these two won't want to get in a battle too much, because otherwise Gary's going to extend that lead even more.
Yeah, sorry about that, folks. I just had to adjust the camera. No point looking at the ground as we're riding with the right front suspension here of Craig Edwards as he comes into 130R. I'll tell you what, I thought they'd be running a lot wider out there, but it just goes to show the amount of grip they've got in these cars. He didn't even get halfway towards the outside ripple strip, as now we see Craig Edwards coming in. Oh, nearly took the end off. It was, wasn't it?
My foot was through the floor then, trying to pull it up.
Yeah, I was having a bit of a clench going on there. I was expecting him to hit, but I tell you what, Craig came flying in, nearly cleaned up Tim Delisle there, and we'll see what they do. Looking at the pit times, the fastest we've seen 12 seconds, and the slowest we've seen is around about 18.9 seconds, and now we see the 18 coming out, and that is Alexander Bird. Here we go.
Yeah, so Craig there now has that front wing fixed. He's used his fast repair, and now the boys back out and free to battle. Fresh fuel, don't think there'll be any tyres, as we've seen, they're pretty good. As Craig runs a bit wide there after the tyres have cooled down a bit, so the boys are going to have to be a bit careful on this outlap. That stationary time in the pits, obviously letting the tyres come down in pressure slightly, and yeah, be a bit of a new car to handle for the first half lap as well.
Yeah, so looking at those pit times, Tim Delisle, I think it's Tim Delisle, it could be Tim Delizzle, I don't know, 11.9 seconds compared to Craig Edwards' 12.2 seconds. Josh Burden, he did a 12.1 second, and he's sitting in 6th at the moment, but a fair way off these guys. So yeah, the racing's getting interesting. Someone commented in there about my beautiful voice. What do you think? Should I start a 1-800 number?
Yeah, for sure, Bernie. That husky voice will bring all the ladies for sure.
Awesome. 1-800 Bernie. That'll work.
Yeah, that's it. As Gary Hamilton pits now, we might keep an eye on this. As he had a couple of second lead coming into the round of pit stops before the other guys pitted. But again, being by himself now, he would have had a lap to with no pressure at all and some fresh air to try and pump out a time. So we'll see how we go here, Bernie, and see where he ends up.
Yeah, Alex McCullough's come in. What about Les Peck? It's quite interesting because if Alex had stayed out for another lap, maybe two, he could have potentially got a bonus point for leading here. But at the moment, Gary Hamilton's led all of them. You can see him in the pits. He's coming out now. And where's Tim Delisle? He's on the main straight, but I don't think they're going to catch him as he's now coming out and up to speed. The 18 right behind him. And then we've got the 17 and 28.
Yeah, so Gary did that pretty well there. He managed to get out in front of the lap traffic of Alexander Bird, who's down in 17th at the moment, because that would have held him up, and these other boys aren't too far behind. That gap's pretty much status quo as it was before the round of pit stops. So, but if he had been stuck in behind that lap car, that could have made it a lot more interesting.
And of course we're looking at the blimp so you can see that physical gap. Gary Hamilton up the top of your screen, folks. Now you can just see Tim and Craig at the bottom. So the gap is between Degner 1 and Degner 2. That's the total gap.
Yeah, so now Gary's cleared that lap car. He's got a nice clear track in front of him, and he'll just look to be putting his head down, pretty much fold the mirrors out of the way, and just eyes forward and get the rest of this race done, being lap 11 with 9 laps to go.
Yeah, well now they've done the pit stop, they can tick that off and they can run for home. In fact, everyone in the field now has taken the pit stops. As far as the drivers retired tonight, we've just had Heath Brennan park the car. Damien Carr has also parked it, as well as Paul Nelson, who retired in the first lap. The car's 1 lap down is Ewan Norilampi. He's just on, no, I think he's a lap down. Alexander Bird and Trent Thomas are all a lap down.
Yeah, and Trent must have got that car fixed up and possibly circulating back out there again. Paul Nelson's our first retirement by the look of it. He's down 9 laps, and Damien Carr's down 4. I think he's still maybe circulating in 19th. There's Gary Hamilton here is making a complete snake all the way up the main straight to stop the lap car from drafting him, because the boys behind that lap car are also getting a draft off it. So it's just trying a bit of tactics there.
Yeah, you could see them, couldn't you? As soon as the car behind him drafted him and went across the track, Tim and Craig followed, and you get that classic snake down that front stretch here. But as we come through the S's, we're riding with Tim Delisle. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, I don't know. 4th gear, probably up to 5th as he comes out of the S's down to Degner 1, I think it is.
Yep, so Degner 1 and 2 down here, the 2 tricky right-handers, and you can just see the camber as he runs a bit wide there, but that should be okay. There's a bit of AstroTurf, but he's lost a ton of time as we come now into this left-hand hairpin turn, which is very, very tricky. You've got to get a really good exit out of here to set up the back half of this lap.
Yeah, down to 2nd gear through hairpin. Now he's coming up to 200R and then up towards Spoon. And that'll probably be 3/4 of his lap done. We've got 9 laps remaining here at the moment, folks, for the Wankel Australian New Zealand Championship. Ignore the logo on the top left. I forgot to change it.
Yeah, so now we're seeing coming on the back straight where the start finish for the other, I think they call that the East Circuit, possibly. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, there's a start finish there, which is a short track they also use, and now he's through the famous 130R, flat and stick easy in these cars, as Bernie mentioned before, sticking to the middle of the road, real heavy braking now into what they call a casino triangle, and then out onto what they call the final corner, and back out onto the main straight where DRS would normally be enabled for the F1s. Now we'll see a bit of draft here, but I think he's going to be too far back to have any sort of effect at all.
Yeah, he's in the draft now. He's pulled in a cup, probably half a car length, maybe 1, and away they go. Yeah, they must have run out of imagination. We had last curve, now they've just come through first curve. Then they sort of woke up and called the S's the S's. Then we come into Dunlop, and then Degner 1 and 2.
Yeah, and for anyone playing at home, if you can tell us what Degner means, that'd be great, because I have no idea what that means, but I guess it might mean two sharp right-hand corners, one after the other, but he's really closed this gap in now, Bernie, after the S. He's made up a ton of time, but unfortunately there's no real room to make a move down through the two Degners. But if he can stick on his gearbox, he may be able to throw it up the inside of the hairpin as he gets a really good exit.
Yeah, and the number 18 was a lap down. That's Alexander Bird. He's just getting out of his way now and letting him through. Craig Edwards also got through, or did he? We've got Alexander on the inside. Craig's not going to enjoy that one bit because he's all of a sudden getting slowed up a little bit. What's he going to do here? Throw it up the inside of Spoon? What do you think, Luke?
Yeah, surely he has to. I think. Oh, there he goes. And he's run wide there. That'll really annoy him. I mean, it's a lap car. The lap car will be getting shown the blue flags. It's not his obligation to get out of the way, but in all honesty, he's not going to lose any positions with no other cars behind him. All he's really doing is breaking up this top three battle.
Yeah, and to be fair to Alexander, he did try to get out of the way. I thought he was actually going to lift and let Craig through, but all of a sudden he didn't, and that would have been his opportunity, just to lift, let Craig get through down to 200R and then get onto his race. He wouldn't have lost a lot of time, but at the moment, as you said, Craig's now got a lot to do, and he has to get past because you can see Tim disappearing up the road.
Yeah, and he's already a lap down as well, but his leader's already gone past him, so all you need to do here is roll out of it, let the car pass, and you don't really lose much time at all. So I mean, sometimes it's just a bit of racecraft as well, and also you may be concentrating so much on your own race you don't even really recognise the blue flags. It can happen, but yeah, it just comes with racecraft as well. Just after doing a lot of races, you tend to learn where you can let leaders pass and stuff without having to lose too much time.
Yeah, that's right. It's that, as you said, the racecraft. But at the moment, Alex McKellar, he's up to 6th position in the top split TV entry there. And of course, folks, if you want to check him out, he's actually live streaming tonight. So go to twitch.tv and then it's /top split TV. But of course, run it next to the broadcast. Don't just leave us.
Yeah, that's right. Just an update. Christopher Noon is still running around in 4th with that paint job. Looks like he's got it all fixed up. They've changed the nose cone in the pit stop. And followed by AJ Bear in 5th in our zebra paint theme. And then Trent Thomas is back out on track in 17th. So good to see him. He's got that all fixed up and he is circulating again.
Yeah, and for the viewers just joining us, he had a nasty accident in the S's there. Basically, the car went out on the ripple strip and it like a tank slapper snapped to his left and he went straight into the wall, very hard indeed. But he'd be very grateful that he's in a simulator, or otherwise he'd be very sore. You can see now Sam Katakazinos is back out there. He's battling with Scott Newton at the moment for 13th and 14th position, and both of these cars, especially Scott, he was up in 3rd and up until he had that incident with Ewer, but at the moment Sam's making him work for that position.
Yeah, and we've just had Craig Edwards spin it in the casino triangle there in the final chicane, battling for 2nd and 3rd. He caught up to Tim, and it looked like he just kind of outbraked himself and over-rotated the car, and he's lost it. So he's still in 3rd, but he's way off the pace now.
Yeah, we just caught that then on the replay, and we'll jump back to this battle. I think the battle between Scott and Sam, they're probably the closest on track at the moment. We've got Joseph Falcomata and Josh Burden, but they're separated probably about 3 car lengths. So yeah, it's amazing when you watch these things go through 130R. You can really get a feel for how much downforce they've got, as we can see now Sam throwing it on the inside there, and that's basically coming through Casio curve up into last curve. He takes that position away from Scott, moves up to 13th.
Yeah, and they do generate a good amount of downforce, as we see now. Sam under attack, he's pulled out of the draft. Scott Newton now takes the position back into 1, and now up through the S's will be a very interesting run.
Yeah, they're having a good battle there. The cameraman, he he thought Scott was on the other side and tilted the camera and wondered where the heck Scott was coming from there.
That's right, and they're still sticking to each other now up through Dunlop, and heading around now through the Degner curves, which one of our viewers, Bernie, has filled me in. So it was named after Ernest Degner, who was a professional Grand Prix motorcycle racer. He had a pretty big crash there in the 60s apparently and was badly hurt. So yeah, they named it after him, that double corner.
Must have been a hell of a big crash because he got 2 corners named after him.
Yeah, not wrong.
Yeah, those motorbike races, my hat off to them, they're all crazy. But we can see now Josh Burden, he's on the back of Alex McKellar here for 6th and 7th, and we'll see what Josh does here. He's never shy to throw it down the inside, is he?
No, he's just a little bit too far back there. You really need to be slightly closer. As I mentioned before, you kind of got to be out the inside there to set you up for that second half of that corner. But up through the S's here, if he can stick on his gearbox, go for the Degners, your next passing opportunity, as we've seen before, will be at the hairpin.
Yeah, so we'll see what he does here. We're riding on the nose cam with him as he's now coming out the S's up to Degner 1 and 2, and we'll just see what he can do, whether he can close up through here. Got a car off on the inside. That was, who was that?
I'll check out for you, Bernie.
It was one of the FSR boys.
Yeah, Trent Thomas. Unfortunately, not his night tonight. He had a really good run last week, Bernie, and just not his night around Suzuka after that big accident this morning. Obviously, a bit shaken up from the earlier accident, and still running around 17th, but yeah, just a harmless spin by himself.
Yeah, so all these guys are running the same fixed setup, so you know, if he's struggling with it, all the other guys are as well, so it's nothing to do with that, I don't think, as we see him coming to Degner too. Yeah, it was just mid-corner again, and it basically just let go. Yeah,
and Alex McKellar and Josh Burden now coming to 130R. They're going to go, they were going to go too wide, but Josh got the move done just before, and now they're going to come down into that Casino Triangle once again. And there's 3-car battle here, it's quite good. Alex McKenna and Joseph Falcomata.
Yeah, this is turning into a great battle, isn't it? And I was watching Josh Burden's body language of the car. As soon as he got in front of Alex, he moved straight across to claim the line and then get full speed through 130R. Some lesser experienced drivers might have tried to hug the inside of that, but Josh is far from inexperienced, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it probably may not hurt you as much on the exit in one of these, Bernie, being that there's such high downforce, and we've seen them be able to take that corner and stick pretty much mid-corner the whole way, but definitely in something else with a bit less downforce, even like a GT3 or a V8 supercar, if you don't take that from that outside line, you're pretty much going to be off in the weeds on the outside, and I do believe they are racing implement a slowdown if you go too far wide there as well.
Okay. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, otherwise people would be just going around there going really wide, and
yeah, that's it.
It takes away the fun of what that corner's all about. And I know in a GT3 that's a bit of a struggle, that corner, but of course not in these cars. They just take it as if it's a straight, so to speak.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. It's even a whole it's a whole bunch more fun in an F1 car when you're doing upwards of nearly 300 kilometers an hour through that corner, and you just close your eyes, put your foot down, and turn it in. Yeah,
so looking at your top 5 at the moment, Gary Hamilton, he's led every single lap of this race. He is leading Tim Delisle by 4 seconds. You can see Tim in the background there, and then 9 seconds down from Tim is Craig Edwards, just coming onto the straight here, and Craig is actually, no he's not, that's a car lap down. Then Christopher Oon in 4th, AJ Bear, good recovery by AJ, because we saw him in a bit of trouble earlier, 5th position. Then we've got Josh Burden, Alex McKellar and Joseph Falcomata battling it out for 6th, 7th, 8th. 9th is Jason Warren, and then we've got Tim Marima rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, and Josh was able on that lap to keep that gap and manage the draft quite well, and now he's making a little bit of time out through the S's, but he's having a bit of connection problem here at the moment, so hopefully that stabilises a bit for him.
Yeah, so at the moment, Falcomata there in 8th. He's dropping off a little bit, isn't he? He was right on the case there, but all of a sudden he's about, what, 3 car lengths behind.
Yeah, maybe he's just tyres have started to go on him a bit, trying to drive hard enough to keep up with these boys. I'm not sure, but seems like they're pretty evenly spread as he gains a little bit under brakes there, but then Josh now accelerates back out and starts to pull away again.
Yeah, and I quite like Falcomata's paint job there. He drives for Kimmy's Rural Fencing, or KRF Racing, I think they're called. He's taking that Formula 1, you know, opposite colours either side of the car, and that looks quite smart, quite nice.
Yeah, it's a good car. Yeah, good colour scheme, something different. I have seen a few that are like fire and ice as well, which always look good as well. So yeah, as I said, there's a few new liveries out tonight that are doing quite well, and hats off to all the painters out there that get these paint jobs done. They do amazing work, and they're not the easiest thing to work on, the open wheelers for paint jobs. Smaller panels and a lot of different angles to work with. So yeah, they do an excellent job.
Yeah, they certainly do. I know I've tried to paint a few open wheelers and I find them a lot more challenging than the tin tops. The Skip Barber, that's a pretty big challenge. You've got no panel work at all to fit anything on those things. As now we'll see Alex coming in to first corner there. He's having a look on the inside of Josh, but he's not game to stick it down the inside just yet. So I'm just going through the rest of the field. The battle with Sam and Scott has definitely spread out now. I'd say Sam's had an incident because he's back there in 15th, a long way off the battle. But Josh Burden, Alex McKellar, I'd say this is the battle to keep an eye on at the moment with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, and this race has just flown past, Bernie. There's they say time flies when you're having fun, and even for a longer track, it's, yeah, laps are just ticked over and ticked over. It's been good, exciting racing, as we've seen in the last 2 weeks as well.
Yeah, it's definitely great racing, this fixed setup racing. It highlights the skill level of the driver and not so much the technical know-how. Well, it doesn't show the technical know-how of the setup because it's fixed. But yeah, it's all about the driver this series.
Yeah, that's right. And just say, Bernie, any of our viewers can feel free to jump in next week and have a go at the car, as long as you've got the car on the track. You know, jump in, have a bit of a go, see how you like it. If I was in the comms box on this leash, Bernie, I might be out there having a drive.
Yeah, well, I reckon if we can get Scott Stevens in next week, we might throw you in one of the cars and you can go and have a run.
Yeah, I tell you what, you'd have some good entertainment watching me drive around mid-pack, I tell you that much.
Alright, viewers, the challenge has been thrown down. What do you think, guys, in the chat channel? Should we throw Luke into a car next week? I'm just waiting for them. They will say yes, I can guarantee it.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. I may as well start putting the steering wheel back on the desk now and getting out there and practice.
I thought you would have been racing with the joystick like I do.
Yeah, bit of a challenge. Do a different challenge each week. Could do a joystick, controller,
keyboard.
I'm not fast enough with a proper wheel setup, let alone trying one of those.
Yeah, I think the first Indianapolis 500 Classic game, you know, this is showing my age. That's what got me hooked on sim racing, but I think that was a keyboard, you know, left and right keys. But now we can see all of a sudden Joseph Falcomata having a look on the outside of Alex here. Where's he come from? He's just got involved in this all of a sudden, and it's a battle for 3 as he looks like he's going to get that position 200R. My goodness, where did Falcomata come from?
Yeah, those guys just kind of concertinaed up through the Degners there, and it's just easily got the move done. And I think we're on the last lap now, so just have a look at Gary Hamilton as he crosses the line. Just had to flip back through him. I thought it was getting a bit close, and that's an excellent win for Gary. Flag to or lights to flag, pretty much. I'm pretty sure that was, besides when he pitted, and that was about it.
Craig Edwards comes across in 3rd position. Then Christopher Oon 4th. 5th will be AJ Bear, as a great recovery drive by AJ. Would have been interesting to see where he was if he hadn't have had that minor issue earlier on. Then, of course, we've got now Joseph Falcomar.
Crash over the line. No, that's before the line. That's unfortunate for Falcomar there.
Oh, and there goes another FSR. Who was that? We'll have a look at that replay, because that was quite, what would you call it?
Interesting? Controversial, maybe?
Controversial, that's it. So let's have a look at this. They're coming up towards 130R. We've got Josh Burden and Falcomar here. Falcomar's going to the outside of the chicane, too wide, and he takes that position. So what's happening here? So Josh has tried to go on the inside by the looks of it, and Falcomar has covered him. They've collected wheels and come together, but Alex McKellar missed, what do you call that guy that came from 3rd to snatch a position in the skating?
Oh, yeah, he's done I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he's done one of them.
Yeah, one of those. I know who you're talking about.
So then, pretty much, who was that coming through there that nearly collected them? But
it might have been Trent Thomas there. Yeah, it was too. It was Trent Thomas down in 16. Has come through. I'm just on board with him now. He's come through the final chicane thinking, oh yes, thank God this race is over. No more incidents for me. And all of a sudden he's greeted with a whole bunch of cars stranded on the start finish line. And he's decided he had all the room in the world on the left-hand side, Bernie, to go to the grass, and he's done a nice 360 pirouette and clipped the wall on the inside.
Yeah,
Bradbury, that's it.
Yeah, I was going to say, thanks Ben for that. So, so interesting finish there. And I tell you what, both Joshua and Joseph, they weren't going to give each other any room, were they, on that last corner?
No, you're not wrong, and I think he just may have misjudged where he was there, Bernie, and he's just moved across to have a bit of a cover, and just collected the front end there and had a big incident. But all in all, that was a great race, and all the way to the finish there, it was excellent.
Yeah, it certainly was, and a lot of excitement, but we just caught Gary crossing the line there. I didn't realise it was the last lap. But let's go through the final results, folks, so you can see where your favourite driver finished tonight, and we can find out who the biggest mover and the shaker is tonight. So Gary Hamilton led from start to finish. He took pole, he led every single lap. Now does he get the hat-trick on the fastest lap? No, he does not. That's snatched up by Craig Edwards. But, great drive there by Gary Hamilton. Tim Delisle comes home in 2nd, Craig Edwards 3rd, Christopher Oon 4th, 5th was AJ Bear, then we have Alex McKellar home in 6th. Josh Burden held out Joseph in the carnage to take 7th, with Joseph Falcomar 8th. Tim Awima comes home 9th, Les Peck 10th, Jason Warren 11th, 12th was Ewa Noralampi. Looking at 13th, Scott Newton. Then we had Sam Katakazinos home in 14th. 15th was Phil Otto. 16th, Trent Thomas. 17th, Alexander Bird. Heath Brennan comes home in 18th. 19th was Damien Carr, and Paul Nelson rounds out our field of 20. So at the moment, the biggest shaker looks like it is Trent Thomas. The biggest mover tonight looks like that was Tim Awima, up 9 positions from where he started to come home in 9th. Yeah,
and that's an excellent job. With a quality field of drivers and managed to stay out of the incidents. And it's always fun when you get a race like that, where you may not have qualified as good, but then you got the pace to work your way and consistency through the field. It always makes for an interesting race and quite fun.
Certainly does, and we've got Gary Hamilton in the green room. Let's bring him up and have a chat. Hi Gary, welcome to the RRTV commentary booth, mate. Fantastic racing, took pole position, led every single lap of that race. Was it as easy as it looked?
G'day, Benny. Yeah, g'day, everyone. Absolutely not. Look, yeah, great. That's always the way you want to do it. Pole, be able to, get a pull away and lead all the laps. But in this series, that pretty much never happens because of the fixed set and the high aero we run. So definitely wasn't expecting that. And it was actually very, very difficult because Tim was so fast and he was only, I think, about 3 seconds behind after the incident. I don't know what happened back there. I had to just push as fast as I could every single lap, because as soon as you get to pretty much under 3 seconds, maybe depending on the track 2 seconds, they'll get you. So I had to keep that gap where it was.
Yeah, so basically what happened in the hairpin there, Scott Newton got into the back of you and Lampy, and we had a couple of cars roll through there. Christopher Oon was also involved, but as soon as that happened, Tim jumped up to, I think it was second, but the gap between you and him was enormous by that point.
Yeah, I definitely saw, I could see something in the rear view, a bit of smoke and some spinning, and then the relative time I could see him dropping. So that's when I knew just go for it. I actually had a plan before this race, and it was completely different to what ended up happening. So maybe for the next race I'll do something different. But that was really good to do that. Good fun, really hard, and I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, it was an awesome drive, and once you got that gap in breaking that slipstream, well then, as you said, it's pretty much then changing your plan and taking the opportunity. But I'm going to hand you over to Luke here, and he wants to come out and drive with you next week, Gary, so you should either encourage him or not, depending how you feel about Luke being on the same track as you.
Well, if he wants to drive with me, I mean, the Pro Mazda is pretty small, but we could squeeze in there for sure.
Yeah, I'm only lightweight. I might sit on the back of the roll hoop there and just hang on. So,
unfortunately, I don't leave you much room inside, mate.
Yeah, that's it. So how'd you find the setup tonight, Gary? A few of the guys struggled on those cold tyres right at the start. We saw a few guys in practice, especially go off on the S's, and there was a couple there tonight as well on the first lap, having a bit of trouble. Were the tyres a bit of an issue today, or are they kind of pretty consistent once they warmed up? We found that in qualifying too, your first lap was the fastest, and then everyone was kind of dropping off after that.
Yeah, the thing was, the set, it was quite difficult actually. So overall, the set was very understeery on the throttle, so I had to change the way that I drove a lot. So to be faster around here, I had to brake really, really late, a lot of coasting through the mid-corner, and then you'd have to get on the throttle late. It's a bit opposite to what you'd normally aim for, but the setup just wouldn't allow that. So overall, yeah, understeery there, so you'd change it for that. But the stuff when it was cold, yeah, if you kind of drove it how you try to sort of normally, yeah, the back just wanted to snap out. So one way around that, you can actually kind of force it to understeer, so you actually go harder. So you go quite fast, but you've just got to be careful when you brake and when you get on the throttle. But yeah, once you get used to it, it wasn't too bad. And then I think I actually just hurt the rears a little. I couldn't get that last chicane right. I kept losing a lot of time there, and it seemed to get worse and worse. I almost spun on one lap actually, but I mean, in quali, I was a bit bummed because I thought I was going to lose it. My second laps 3 and 4, I was actually on a low 54, like a 0.3, and then I stuffed the last chicane both laps. So luckily to get the pole there.
Yeah, no, it was good, and yeah, we did notice on that lap where you said you almost spun that that gap closed up, but that was about as much pressure as you had all race. The other guys, pretty much once they had their bit of coming together there at the hairpin, kind of gave you that extra breathing space. But you did manage to pull a bit of a gap pretty much from the start, and you were able to pit in, and you got lucky there and just got out in front of that lap car as well, because the other two boys ended up getting held up behind him a bit there. But did well all the way out in front pretty much.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's interesting, when I came out of the pits, because of this setup, that could have been really bad for me. So they actually closed the gap because of that back marker, because they picked up the toe. So the back marker picked the toe up off me, and then they picked it up off of him, so I could see the relative actually closing. And I thought, oh great, he's gonna pass him, and then he'll definitely be in my toe by then. And unfortunately for them, unfortunately for me, it looks like they did get held up a little bit through the complex part of the track. So I was saved a bit there.
Yeah, no, it's good, and the pit stops, as we've seen the last few weeks, has created some really good racing with strategy and stuff as well. So looking forward to having a run next week, and you won't have to worry about me. I'll only be mid-pack anyway, so the only thing you'll have to worry about is if you're coming back lapping me around the middle half of the track there. So I don't even know where it is, but I'll enjoy getting out there and having a run, I think.
Absolutely, everyone should. It's a really good category, and as always, thanks guys for doing the broadcast. They're always fun to watch. So just a big shout out also to sponsors, Dynamic Sim Racing, making some very high quality sim gear. Darling Guns Ballistics, Win the Day, which is a Cancer Foundation, and a new one. A friend of mine, Will P, might have heard the name. Actually, just started his own clothing line. So if you go to 12willpower.com, you can check out his couple shirts he's got going.
Awesome. That's not the Willpower that used to race Formula Ford, was it?
Yeah, yep, it is, and now IndyCar.
Oh, that Willpower. Don't worry, I engineered a guy who raced Formula Ford that was also called William Powers. I was like,
okay.
he didn't tell me he started his own clothing brand. He's a mechanic, but yeah, we won the New South Wales State Championship for Kent Series a couple of years back.
Very nice. Well, he's got the name for it. We've seen it. We've seen it be successful.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I told him. He just needs the funds.
So where do I find this apparel? Willpower, is it?
Yeah. So if you go to www.12, the number 12, willpower.com. He's just got a couple shirts out so far, and I'm sure he's going to expand on that. If you have a close look, actually, at the print on it's basically like a fake pocket on the shirt. There's a hidden message in there that if you've watched Indy before, or even if you haven't, you'll probably know what it means.
Okay, I'll have a look after the broadcast. I'm just being scared by the video of him close up. But yeah, anyway, Gary, thanks for popping in, mate, and no doubt we'll see you next week.
No problem, guys. Thanks again. See you then.
Yeah, well done, Gary.
So, Luke, I don't know if it's good news for you or bad news. We're going to Watkins Glen International next week.
Yeah, that's alright. It's a short track. Not many places for me to get in trouble. And I'm pretty familiar with that course. I been running the Porsche official series, so they ran around there the other week. And I hate the boot layout. I know everyone loves that boot layout, but I absolutely hate it. I like the short track, so it should be very interesting in open wheel, but being that yeah, such a short lap. It's like under a minute, pretty much, almost in a V8 supercar, so or a GT3 or a Porsche. So yeah, we'll see what kind of times we can do in those things.
Yeah, it should be epic. I reckon your biggest problem is going to be you're going to be lifting when you should just keep it nailed. That's probably what you're going to have to focus on.
Yeah, it's the old muscle memory of lifting in the V8 supercar or the rough through the bridge section there. Turns 3 and 4, so yeah, I'll try and keep it pinged in practice and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely, and we're just about come to the end of our broadcast here, folks, but there's still a lot of action on RRTV this week. If you like your truck racing, join us tomorrow night. I've got Ryan Shelton joining me at, I think it's 6:30 a.m. for him over in, I think it's South Carolina, so he will be with me to call the ANSCAR Thursday Night Thunder Truck Series. That kicks off 8:25 p.m. GMT plus 10. Then, of course, Friday night, the Australian Online Supercar Championship, they're back, and that kicks off 9:15 p.m. and I'll have Daniel Leet back in the combox with me to call that. Then, of course, Alex McKellar will be back on Saturday night. There goes my voice, to call the iRacing World's Fastest Gamer Qualifier. That's the Australian-New Zealand split. That kicks off 8 p.m. GMT plus 10 on Saturday night. So there's a bit of racing going on there still, Luke.
Yeah, definitely, Bernie, and there's never a shortage on RRTV on YouTube to if you want some motorsport and you're missing out on real life stuff. There's plenty in the sim racing world going on pretty much every night, which is the advantage of sim racing. It can happen pretty much 24/7 depending on what part of the world you're in.
Yeah, we're pretty spoiled, aren't we? Because we've got like this channel, of course, and then you've got V8 Online. They're pretty much covering a heck of a lot of stuff throughout the week as well. And then on top of that, you've got a lot of streamers on Twitch that are streaming their races. Then on top of that, you've got other drivers recording them and uploading them. So you could pretty much just watch it 24/7 with all the different channels and streamers that we're lucky to have here in the Australian New Zealand club.
Yeah, that's right, Bernie, and we thank you again as well for putting on these broadcasts for everyone, and we also thank Trent Thomas for running the WANC series. Seems like a good series as well still, and definitely look forward to getting out there next week and giving it a red hot go and see what kind of mid-pack carnage I can cause.
Yeah, well, I'm going to hold you to that because I reckon. Well, if you cause mid-pack carnage, I'm going to say I don't know you. You know, you can go back to the pits and deal with it. I'm just going to stay in the comm box and lock the door.
That's it, and no commentator's cursor. I don't want any onboard shots when I'll go watch the replay. Because if I crash, I'm coming up to the booth and blaming you.
There's going to be lots of shots, don't you worry. But anyway, folks, also thanks to everyone that tuned in to our channel tonight, because without you guys, we would not be doing what we do. Hopefully you've enjoyed the coverage of the Wankel Australia New Zealand Championship, and hopefully you'll come back tomorrow night to check out how the NASCAR boys go in the trucks, and that's at Las Vegas, so it should be a rather interesting night. But until then, folks, on behalf of Luke Hamilton, I'm Bernie Weemers. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to your company next time. Good night.